Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today we're going to be diving into Vechain to talk about the price action of the VET token. As we get into this video, guys, if you find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done out of the way, let's dive down into the charts here for Vechain and talk about what's been going on most recently and what we might expect to happen next with the VET token. So guys, we're really going to just start things off with the weekly. It's been about a week or so since we've actually looked at this, but pretty much the structure is pretty much there, still intact on that journey to $1. So we obviously do have these 5 impulse waves moving to the upside. Okay, and inside all of those waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are of course multiple waves as well, right? We're not really going to go into the smaller nitty-gritty detail of it, and we like to keep the bigger trends on track to make sure that we're all aware of where things are going long term. Okay, by the end of the bull run, we are talking about $1 VET, and of course, you know, when we go into the smaller time frames, you see different patterns that have different kind of time. I guess, timelines associated with them, ways that have actually seeing particular moves happen within the next sort of week, 2 weeks, or even the next 24 to 48 hours, right? But this is the weekly chart, which means we're talking about what's going to play out in months to come and not what's going to happen tomorrow, okay? So the weekly chart is looking pretty good as we target $1 by the end of the bull run. Okay, that might be by the end of 2021, but it's more likely going to be Q1 of 2022. Okay, so pretty much by March, I would anticipate that most altcoins should have actually peaked. Okay, so what else can we see here? Well, wave 1 was basically starting at the beginning of March 2020. Wave 3 actually peaked up in April of 2021. During the start of the bull run and the peak of wave 3, we'd actually seen 18,295% in gains. To put that into context, Bitcoin for the same time period went up 1,600%. Ethereum, 5,100%. Cardano, 14,000%. So when we start thinking about Vechain and I see all these comments saying it does nothing, it just trades sideways, well, it simply isn't true at all. Because if you're saying that Vechain hasn't performed well, then you're saying Bitcoin hasn't performed well. And everyone seems to think Bitcoin's performed incredibly well, right? It has obviously moved up to $61,000. It sounds like a big number, but from a percentage yield point of view, it hasn't exactly made your portfolio pop. Now that's what Vechain has done for you, specifically when you're buying it all the way down here and riding it all the way to the top of wave 3. Yet there are still more gains to be had. Another 728% would see us with a $1 VET token by the end of this bull run. So significant gains are still on the table. So ultimately, it has been a very good performer. Obviously, I can understand people's frustrations as they chase the green candles and maybe were buying at the top of wave 3, riding it down into this 4th wave. Maybe they got so frustrated they sold, and now they're starting to see it perform and push back up again. They're frustrated because they sold down here. Again, chasing those green candles and getting wrecked. Ultimately, money is not really made in the bull run. Money is made in the bear market. You have to be around in the bear market to dollar cost average fantastic positions before the bull run has even started. This allows you to basically manage your expectations and, of course, your emotions during the bull run and protect your profits on that journey. What you don't want to do is basically constantly chase green candles because you are going to get hurt that way. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial advisor, but these are the strategies that we believe in and what we act upon. We basically use the bear markets for exactly what they're designed to do. Accumulate huge positions in solid projects with solid fundamentals and a good foundation. These are the kind of projects like Vechain that have huge upside during a bull run, whereas Bitcoin could be good as a good store of value and a bit of a hedge against the inflation, but it isn't going to make your portfolio pop. Okay, so it's important that we acknowledge that Vechain has performed very well. It's one of the top performers in our portfolio. The most, the best performing cryptocurrency in our portfolio has actually been Matic with 52,000%. One Harmony's another 18,000%, Anchor's 34,000%. So when we actually start thinking about Bitcoin with only 1,600%, you start to realize that actually it's the altcoins that are going to make you the money in your portfolio and not BTC. So overall, a good amount of profits have been made so far. More are on the table, with another 728% taking us up to that dollar level. Obviously, many frustrations had been had during Wave 4, and the same frustrations in Wave 2. Nothing was going on with Vechain. It was just trading sideways. I remember the comments well. And likewise, Vechain does nothing but go down. Bitcoin pulls down, Vechain pulls down. Bitcoin goes up 10%, Vechain does nothing. Right, these are the comments that you hear. All that, of course, it's China centralized in China, and it's going to go to zero. All those kind of nonsense and FUD articles that are simply not true. It's important that you actually do your research on this project. There's a lot of nonsense out there, a lot of things that are not true, and it's important that you actually, find out what's actually going on when it comes to Vechain. We've recently seen DHL partnering up with Vechain to use Vechain for their NFTs or their ENFTs. So again, lots of really cool and interesting things are going on with Vechain. They are obviously well diverse now outside of just supply chain. They are doing an awful lot of things, and basically it is a blockchain that is designed for enterprises and not really designed for the everyday kind of dApp and things like that. Of course, if you're running an enterprise or a business, then you obviously will be able to use Vechain, but you're going to get the most bang for your buck if you're actually a big enterprise such as DNVGL or PwC, Walmart China, DHL, right? Those are the kind of players that Vechain have got, right? Those are the people who are using Vechain. Of course, BMW, Renault, the list kind of goes on, H&M. It's a huge, long list of worldwide enterprises who are using Vechain. That means that we are looking for a long-term value being added to Vechain over the course of several years. This is why I'm pretty comfortable with my Vechain holdings and why Vechain's Chris's largest bag. It is one of those projects that you can kind of rest quite easy on because the kind of players that are involved with Vechain don't tend to lose. Okay, cool. So the weekly chart here is looking pretty good. So let's jump down into our daily. Okay, so this is where we start to actually review what's been going on most recently, right? So we obviously have the top of Wave 3, we have the bottom of Wave 4 here, and we have the Fibonacci retracement tools actually indicating $1.01. Of course, this is only really utilizing 2 anchor points. What if we were to take this to 3 anchor points? What if we were to take the trends into consideration? What would that mean for the price of Vechain? So what we're going to do is we're going to use a trend-based fib extension. Okay, we're going to take the bottom of our Wave 2. We're going to take the top of our Wave 3. If I get that, there we go. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom of Wave 4. And here we can actually see an extension coming in at $1.20. Okay, and this is based on 3 anchor points rather than just 2, taking into consideration that impulse wave to the upside of Wave 3, and taking into consideration the pullback that we had here in Wave 4. So the low of 2, the high of 3, and the low of 4, giving us a good indication of where Wave 5 is likely to go. This would actually go up to about $1.20 based on those trends. So overall, everything's looking pretty good from that point of view. Now, I don't tend to use these ones because I think this is actually then pushes it to the extremer level. And basically, you're not necessarily going to lock in your profits if you're waiting for $1.20, which is why we often say on this channel that $1.01 is a nice, comfortable area that I am actually expecting to occur. And I do often say that we might overwick this a little bit, and that would take us to that $1.20 level. What I'm not seeing inside the charts is anything higher than that. I'm not really seeing anything for $1.50. $2, $3, or anything like that, which is unfortunate for this particular bull run. But with that being said, in the next cycle, things on Vechain are looking very, very good as well. So ultimately, we are talking about moving up to $1. That's 728%. And again, that would be something that I would anticipate would happen by the end of the bull run, which I believe would more than likely be Q1 of 2022. Timing is always the hardest thing to get though. So it's important that we do take that with a pinch of salt. Overall, a cup and handle pattern has formed, and it's actually on the cusp of being invalidated. It's very, very tough right now. But basically, we do have a good cup being formed here. The handle has actually pulled back quite significantly. It came very, very close to 48%. If it was less than that, and then come down to 50%, then ultimately that would be very, very difficult to actually say that, that's basically invalidated. Other than that, it's been progressing nicely, but we'll have to just monitor this situation, continue at growth to the upside. This particular pattern does actually target out there 22.1 cent. And again, that would basically put us just above the 702 and just below the 786. These key areas of trading on the Fibonacci retracement tool, ahead of going into new all-time highs with Vechain, where we start to actually think about moving up to 42 cents, 60, 4 cent, 87 cent, and of course that $1 level. Ultimately, everything's looking pretty good on the daily chart. There aren't anything that I'm overly concerned with, just the cup and handle. But again, this particular pattern is only 60 to 70% accurate, and therefore isn't something that we can rely on 100%. With that being said, though, there was a downward trend line, and again, this was breached as we started to basically form the top of our cup. We then pulled back in the month of September, retesting this and confirming that this was resistance. We broke it again, confirmed it as support, and then took off again, heading up towards the top of the right hand side of the handle. Ultimately, everything's looking pretty good from that kind of perspective. And again, it's really important that if we want to look at the cup and handle in more detail, it's actually better to look at it on our weekly chart rather than, of course, the daily. Of course, it's just easier to see the kind of moves that we've been having on the daily, but actually if you want to look at these patterns in a lot more detail, the weekly is where you want to do it, and it shows you these patterns in much clearer because it's looking at a larger time period. So if you're ever in doubt, do zoom out, pay attention to that weekly chart. It is your friend. Okay, so with all that said and done and out of the way, let's actually take a look at what the artificial intelligence and machine learning is talking about when it comes to Vechain. So advice.io, links in the description below if you're not familiar. Do sign up, it is completely free, and you're going to be able to learn a lot more about your cryptocurrencies. In this case, we're looking at Vechain. It's an A3 cryptocurrency rating overall, which basically puts it in the top tier right now. We have a fear and greed index that is specific to Vechain, so not the Bitcoin general fear and greed index that you see flying around all over the place. This one is actually all about Vechain. How does this artificial intelligence and machine learning basically indicate the sentiment for Vechain? Is it fearful? Is it greedy? Right now, Vechain's actually an A2 rating, the second best this platform can give, putting this and firmly that greedy area. So Vechain's very greedy right now. So again, we want to be aware that basically seasoned professionals, so those day traders, will take a greedy scenario and start to think about taking profits at key levels. This basically means you might see small pullbacks when things are greedy, but ultimately this trend is still very bullish as people are FOMOing in, chasing those green candles. As we come across here, we have the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio, a C2. Nothing has really changed there. Ultimately, there are liquidity-based problems across many altcoins, and Vechain has been affected by that, and it's been this way for a while now. So no change with the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio. The 𝗕𝗪 ratio is an A2 rating. So again, in line with that fear and greed index looking greedy, we have the rewards outweighing the risks. So basically, this artificial intelligence and machine learning of advice.io is indicating that we might want some exposure, or should have some exposure, to Vechain right now, some VET, right? Basically, the risks do not outweigh the rewards, and the rewards do outweigh the risks. Therefore, exposure might be a good idea. Now, obviously, advice.io give you this information, but they're not offering you financial advice in the same way that I am not offering you financial advice. But using advice.io might be a tool that you want to use whilst doing your own research and coming to your own conclusions. Taking a look at that 𝗕𝗪 ratio and that fear and greed index helps me understand whether or not I want to be buying fear or whether I want to just be looking to take profits, etc. As we take a look at Vechain here, on the moving average aspects, it's obviously an A2. Again, those moving averages are performing quite nicely. And guys, the ROI, as no surprise, would be an A1 rating, the best that you can get, with 18,295% in gains, significantly higher than that of Bitcoin and Ethereum and even Cardano. Ultimately, Vechain has performed incredibly well. Okay, so obviously it has the performance of an A1 when it comes to profitability. Overall, there's no issues with the underlying data here other than that liquidity-based problem, which obviously plagues many altcoins anyway. As we come down back to the charts, we'll come into our hourly view. What's going on with our hourly view, and should we be concerned of anything? Ultimately, we had a good surge to the upside, as you can see, setting these higher lows on that journey to the upside. Those higher lows, and obviously taking in mind that stochastic RSI is looking to grow, finding resistance right now at 12.2. Should we breach that? Will we actually be targeting 12.5? Well, in order to really do that, to come to those conclusions, let's first of all take a look at the volume. We obviously have that volume coming in here, basically surging us up to our 12.5 cent resistance, and then pulling back down towards our support of 11.7. Finding resistance right now on 12.2, looking to grow that stochastic, but we can see that there was actually a little bit of selling pressure just here. Not too much, but a little bit of selling pressure. So we're looking now is to basically grow the volume up as we continue to grow the candles. If not, then we'll continuously stay on this resistance level of 12.2. We might turn it into a brief area of support before losing that support again, and and looking to 11.9 as our support level for the next 24 hours. Ultimately, we have plenty of room to grow. Obviously, some fantastic news, but obviously we are also expecting those profits to be taken from those seasoned professionals who are trading Vechain actively. Ultimately, this is a small time movements. Here you can see that volume decreasing even as we increased our price. That sentiment isn't quite aligned to where we need it to be just yet. So again, we should continue to trade sideways across here and really think about our 11.9 cent support level. If we lose that, then think about 11.7, 11.5, and going down to a low of about 11.2 would potentially be possible if we take our stochastic into overbought without breaching 12.2 cent. Ultimately, we are looking to move up to 12.5. I do think we're more than likely going to run out of steam at that point and look to find support either on 12.2 or 11.9. I think this will be the kind of situation for the next sort of 24 hours to 48 hours. I'm just trading inside these areas here and looking for that break to 13.2. Again, that break can happen at any point. Really depends on that sentiment, but right now that sentiment is not looking great, in line with basically profits being taken in this extremely greedy situation that we find ourselves in. Ultimately, this is a short-term kind of given, and as long as we actually close a kind of a daily candle again higher than the previous, I think we're going to be doing okay. Again, this is all short-term views, and if this is a little bit too distracting and sometimes actually a little bit overwhelming, it's important that we do zoom out. Take a look at that daily if you're concerned. Pay attention to what's going on with the daily. If that's a little bit too much for you, use the cheat sheet, zoom out to the weekly, and this one is looking very, very good. Obviously, this is for the longer-term investor. We don't really tend to do too much trading, but we are considering entering a little bit of the world of the trading for the shorter-term things. But ultimately, we like long-term investment and long-term investment decisions, long-term strategies that show us where we are going next. So the weekly chart for this is our friend. Guys, I'm going to leave this video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.